Please stay for the playing of the national anthem. This week, Council is grateful to have Pastor Fred Lamar, Senior Pastor of Family Missionary Baptist Church, to lead us in prayer. And as Pastor Lamar approaches the podium, I'm going to ask that we take a moment of silence. This past weekend, we had another senseless mass shooting in Colorado Springs, Colorado, where 5 people lost their lives. 5 LGBTQ folks lost their lives at a club as they were getting ready to celebrate Trans Remembrance Day. These mass shootings are all too often, but we should not allow this to become normal. So we are going to pause. We are going to remember those lost lives and pray that as a community, as a country, we can move forward together. Pastor Lamar.
Let us pray. God, our God, God who's our refuge, who's our strength, who are very present help even in these trying times. God, we say thank you, God, because God, we understand, God, you oversee, you rule and super rule. God, we come now on behalf of this council. Come on behalf, God, of every member of this council, from the president, the pro temp, and every member. God, give them wisdom, give them understanding, give them direction, God, as they lead and guide and make decisions for the betterment of all the members of our city. Bless now, as only you can. It's in Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Amen. And Pastor Lamar, if you would stay there for a second. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorrance, Faber, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Wanted to go out of order really quick. We thank Pastor Lamar for being here and for praying with us, but it's also a celebration of his 25th anniversary at his church. And why that is meaningful is that for as long as I've been in city leadership, and before when I worked for former mayor, we've known Pastor Lamar to be someone who does the work in neighborhoods, that fights on behalf of our residents' safety and community, who is forever present. And so I didn't think it would be robbery to take a moment to present this resolution, to honor him for 25 years of pastoral leadership, but even more so from the city, to honor and recognize the work that you're doing in our community on behalf of folks who often are left behind. And for that, I am grateful. Do any of my comments have any comments on this resolution? Councilmember Bangston.
No, just want to say thank you. And typically we come to Sunday service and present these, so it's great for you to be here so that we all can celebrate you. I really have always considered you the moral compass, even amongst the pastorate, one that is a voice that unapologetically fights for the South Side, but unapologetically fights for our community. So thank you for 25 years of service. I'm guessing that you must have started somehow at like age 15 as pastor. If
Almost.
20, okay.
Almost. Just a little bit.
But no, congratulations, and thank you for always being a listening ear, mentor to me, and always providing a word when needed. So thank you, and congratulations.
Any more comments? Principal Tim.
Pastor, certainly congratulations are in order, but gratitude is really the theme. Because as you fight for the South Side, you really fight for what families and neighborhoods need across our city. And you do it with a laser focus on your community, but it's not lost on any of us that often the way forward you are pointing is what's best for our city as a whole. So thank you very much for that level of like grounded, localized, but broader vision. We appreciate you.
Councilmember.
Pastor, just want to say thank you as well for being a continuous advocate for your flock, for your congregation, and certainly for the community. There's no one that we can look to call on more than you when it comes to your neighborhood, and certainly understanding some of the concerns and some of the good things that are going on as well. So appreciate all that you do. Congratulations on this anniversary, and to many, many more.
Thank you, thank you.
Pastor, you would like to say any remarks?
I'm just excited, delighted to be here, and I want to share. Just this morning, the police was in the community, and a young man that was arrested, he started calling my name out. So then I had to pull over, and I talked to them, and then they told me about the situation. I said, well, unfortunately, you're gonna have to go to jail this time, and so in advocating for the community, sometimes you just got to tell them, so no, I can't be there for you this time.
Right.
But I appreciate everything that all of you do. I appreciate all those that's here. Let's continue to uplift our city. All right.
Thank you. Is there a motion? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Are there any corrections to the journal? Hearing no correction, the journal is approved. There are no communications received by the city clerk's office. Are there any other communications to be read?
No, sir.
Are there any resolutions, announcements from my colleagues, starting with Councilmember Bangston?
Thank you, President Harden. Just a couple of announcements this evening. And I will be hosting council's first set of budget hearings for economic development, small and minority business, and technology committees next Monday from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. here in council chambers. Any resident seeking to submit written testimony should forward it to my legislative aide, J.P. Dorval, at JB as in boy, Dorval, D-O-R-V-A-L, at columbus.gov. Written testimony must be received by 3 p.m. on Monday. Residents who want to provide testimony via WebEx or in person during the hearing must email JP by 3 p.m. on Monday. Each speaker's remarks will be limited to 3 minutes or less. Second, the date of my small and minority business roundup hearing has been moved from December 1st to January 17th. The goal of the hearing is to provide the small and business and entrepreneur community a high-level overview of all of the programmatic and policy successes that the city has benefited from in 2022 and policy or programs the community should look forward to in 2023. As many of you may or may not have noticed, it is a very busy November and December here at council, so we wanted to make sure that the small and minority business roundup had ample time to be promoted and make sure that everyone was aware of it. So please look forward for a new public notice from my office and more details to come on that. And that is all I have this evening.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Barosa de Padilla. Press Pro Tem. Councilmember Dorans.
Thank you, Council President. It's with a heavy heart I wanted to share with the community, if folks have not already heard that. Development Commissioner Mary Anderson passed away this past week. She was a proud West Sider, a brilliant, kind, and generous and staunch advocate for social justice in our community. She was a fierce and dedicated attorney. She was a partner at Sowald, Sold, Anderson, and Hawley and Johnson Law Firm. She was a passionate advocate for women, children, and people of color. Marty was a graduate of Miami University and University of Cincinnati College of Law. She served in the local Bar Association Family Law Committee and served for many years on the Columbus Development Commission. We appreciated all of her service to the city of Columbus. She'll certainly be missed by her family, her friends, her colleagues, and so many in the Columbus community, and just wanted to take a moment tonight to acknowledge her passing and all of the years of service that she gave to the city of Columbus. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Faber.
Thank you, Council President Harden, and good evening, everyone. As Council President Harden started off the meeting this evening, this past Saturday, our country experienced another horrific mass shooting. 5 innocent lives were lost and countless were injured. The massacre at Club Q in Colorado Springs, put simply, was a hate crime. We need to do better, and we cannot keep turning our heads the other way when lives are being taken. We cannot keep offering our thoughts, prayers, and sympathies without passing policies to help protect our children, our friends, and most importantly to this conversation, our LGBTQ community. Tomorrow, Tuesday, November 22nd at 5:30 p.m., Councilmember Remy, Chair of Public Safety Committee, Council President Harden, and myself will be hosting a public hearing to discuss proposed common sense gun legislation. If you would like to sign up to provide 3 minutes of public testimony during the public hearing, please email Anissa Lieben at aaliban@columbus.gov by noon with the subject line, Common Sense Gun Legislation Public Hearing. If you would like to provide written testimony, you can do the same by emailing Anissa Lieben and provide your testimony by noon. As many of our residents have been engaged with City Council in the discussion around Columbus Public Health's proposed legislation that would regulate the sale and distribution of flavored tobacco products within the City of Columbus, I want to make a note and remind everyone that this is tonight the first reading of the legislation. It is not the final version. We are still actively listening and reviewing the feedback that we are receiving daily from residents. Next week, November 30th, we will be hosting our 3rd conversation with small businesses on the topic of flavored tobacco. The meeting will be at 5 p.m. at the Westgate Community Center, and on December 1st, we will be holding a 2nd public hearing at 5 p.m. in council chambers. At this time, I would like to call up Magistrate Denise Waddy and the illustrious bench of women, judges who have come with her to celebrate her this evening. I would like to present Resolution 230X-2022 to honor and recognize and express our appreciation for Magistrate Denise Waddy on the occasion of her retirement from the Franklin County Municipal Court. I am honored tonight to present a resolution to Magistrate Denise Waddy. Many of us here this evening are familiar with Magistrate Waddy's impact, not only at the courthouse, but in the community. Magistrate Denise Waddy graduated from the University of Dayton School of Law, where she received her Juris Doctor in 1993. In 2005, Magistrate Waddy became the proud recipient of Capital University's Black Law Student Association's Dr. Martin Luther King Image Award. Magistrate Waddy was appointed to the court in 1995 and has worked as a Franklin County public defender for 27 years. She has dedicated her life and career to improving lives and is deeply appreciated for her service. And personally, Magistrate Waddy has had a profound impact on my life as a young Black woman with aspirations of not only achieving one of my goals in life, which was to become an attorney, but she also demonstrated to me what it means to live a life of public service. And in a field where there are not many people that look like you, and definitely those that sit on the bench, Magistrate Waddy took me under her wing as a 2L. And one of the unique things about the state of Ohio is that as a law student, you have the ability to practice law in the accompaniment of an actual licensed attorney. And one of my first courtroom experiences was in front of Magistrate Waddy, and she got me into shape very quickly. I got my chops. If it wasn't from former assistant city attorney Rick Pfeiffer, it was from Magistrate Waddy. She taught me how to utilize the skills that I was learning in a classroom and utilize those skills to advocate on behalf of those who cannot advocate for themselves. And so it is my honor to be here at this point in my life to recognize you for your lifetime of service. And thank you for all that you have done for little girls that look like me and that will come after both of us who have aspirations of not only being attorneys, but being judges, presidents of the United States, and so on and so forth. So with that, I will stop chatting and say the floor is yours.
President Hardin, President Pro Tem Brown, Congress Member Favor, and all of the esteemed members of the Columbus City Council, thank you very much for this very public honor and recognition of my 27 years of service as a Franklin County Municipal Court Magistrate. It has truly been my honor. Shayla was, whether she realizes it or not, one of my favorites. I saw greatness in her before I think she saw it in herself. And so I did hold the bar pretty high. And she has surpassed that far beyond even my expectations. I wish to thank my family members that are here this evening, my daughter Lindsay, my husband John Waddy, and these lovely women behind me who I must recognize. Judge Jiza Page, Judge Andrea Peoples, Magistrate Lisa Thompson, lovely Judge Kim Crowcroft, and of course the lovely Judge Lachelle Stroud. I did not know they were going to be here this evening, and so I am touched by their support. As great as this honor is, truly the greatest honor for me has been to serve this community. I've enjoyed working with the people. I am a better person for having been a magistrate all these years. I've learned a lot. It's taught me empathy and humility, and I am forever grateful for that. I will not take up any more time. Thank you again for the opportunity to come before you and address council.
Thank you. And judges, either anyone, please feel free.
I will just say this, we're all very into our titles, but the most important thing is the kind of person that you are. So you want to be the kind of person that when you leave, the world knows you made the world better.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what happened here. We are all incredibly proud of her, and we'll miss her a lot.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Any of my colleagues?
Thank you, sir.
And what does the next stage of your life hold?
My plan is to do absolutely nothing. That's the plan. I do have a 15-month-old grandson and another one on the way, so I'm sure I'll have plenty to do.
Well, we have plenty of work for you to still do at the city, if you're obliged, you know. You can ask Ms. Janet Jackson, we keep you working. With that, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President.
I also have one more resolution, to recognize the Centennial celebration of the, you all know I'm going to mess it up, but I'm going to do my best, the Prumak Swami Mirage in Columbus. Gentlemen are welcome to, yes, come on up. Tonight I am proud to recognize the Centennial celebration of His Holiness, a beloved leader in Columbus, and the global Hindu community. Mirage was the fifth spiritual successor and guru of the BAPS, a worldwide Hindu organization dedicated to promoting harmony between individuals, within families, and among diverse communities. Throughout his life, he led by example. His humility, faith, and compassion inspired millions of devotees to maintain moral and spiritual lifestyles. And at this time, I'd like to welcome Bhargav Trivedi and Deepal Patel to the podium to provide remarks and to accept this resolution.
President Hardin, President Pro Tem Brown, Councilwomen in favor, and all other council members. On behalf of the whole BAPS Columbus community, we would like to really thank you for recognizing the work that our Guru, Pramukh Swami Maharaj, has done for the society. Possessing nothing, wanting nothing and asking for nothing. He has just given back to the society. When I'm asked, why did I select Pramukh Swami Maharaj as my guru, I answer back by saying, I am blessed that he has selected me. Who am I to choose such a divine personality? By building 150 centers in the North America, one of them here, local to Columbus, Ohio, and then creating 5 stone mandirs, Pramukh Swami has provided a place for our spiritual development. These centers are not just a place of worship, but with various activities, they build good character in our children, in our family, within us, and the good citizens of this world. By ordaining more than 950 learned monks, Pramukh Swami has laid out a path of setting a spiritual guidance for us. These monks, they live within the vows put forward by our God, Bhagavan Swaminarayan, but they dedicate their whole life for the betterment of others. They provide us guidance during our festivities and build our faith towards God. Pramukh Swami has always motivated us to stay with our families together, discuss the daily matters with each other, reading the Hindu scriptures, and sing God's praise by the cadence of Gar Sabha. Because of this, he has strengthened the very fabric of the society, because a peace at world can start at peace at home. I would like to quickly say a quick incident when one of our devotees was going through a very difficult time where he was rotting himself in a hospital bed all by himself, and he was cursing himself by saying, how can I get such a bad disease towards the end of my life? When Pramukh Swami learned about this, he changed his whole plans and he made sure he visits that person. And towards the last days of his life, he was able to make peace by himself. That's how Pramukh Swami Maharaj has taught us to persevere and pray. Hence, today, I would like to pray in front of the city council that all the council members can help us develop this city. May there be peace in our minds. May there be peace in the city of Columbus. May there be peace in the United States. And may there be peace in the whole world. I pray to Bhagavan Swaminarayan and our current Guru Mahan Swami Maharaj that all of us can live like one big happy family. I would like to all you to join for a victory cry that was given to us by Mahan Swami Maharaj for this special occasion. Pramukh Swami Maharaj Shatabdi Mahotsavni Jai. Akshardham Mahotsavni Jai. Now I would like to call upon Deepti-ben Patel to talk through from the women wing about a few words of Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Thank you.
Lord Swaminarayan endeavored for the progress of women by promoting their educational, social, and spiritual development. Through BAPS, Pramukh Swami Maharaj has inspired many activities for girls and women of all ages and backgrounds in India and abroad. From tribal villages to metropolitan cities, the activities coordinated by the BAPS Women's Wing have flourished, providing opportunities for women to develop culturally, educationally, professionally, and spiritually. Pramukh Swami Maharaj in his lifetime wrote more than 700,000 letters to devotees who seeked his guidance and blessings. I personally have sought his blessings through letters from choosing my career path to my partner and blessing us with 2 wonderful children. I feel without his blessings and guidance, I would not be here today. He is the driving force, the guiding light, and my ultimate guru, my teacher. I will leave you all with his life philosophy from which I take inspiration. In the joy of others lies our own. In the progress of others rests our own. In the good of others abides our own. Know this to be the key to peace and happiness. Once again, thank you on behalf of BAPS Swaminarayan Mandir, President Hardin, Council Member Shayla Favor and her team, Rob Dorrance, and last but not the least, all the esteemed council members for recognizing the work of our Guru, Pramukh Swami Maharaj. Thank you, and Jai Swaminarayan.
Thank you so much. And, we just celebrated our very first Diwali celebration here in council chambers just a few weeks ago, and many of you all were there. Earlier in the day, I had the great opportunity to come over to BAPS and to see for myself the great work that you all are doing in the community and on behalf of all of the parishioners. And I was so impressed by this interactive station that was really put together, I believe, by the youth of the, the youth, they were facilitating, and they did such a great job highlighting the principles of Diwali. I came back and was telling my team and all the other members at council about how incredibly important it was for you all to do that, but to continue to be so inviting for folks in Columbus to learn more about your faith and how folks can participate in that. So thank you for letting me into your space. Do my colleagues have anything they'd like to say? Yes, Councilmember Dorrance.
Thank you, Councilmember Fair. I just want to say thank you to everyone for coming here this evening. And I just want to say thank you again for hospitality on Saturday. I really enjoyed the opportunity to come out to the temple and meet with many of you and really learn a lot of the background about the celebration. And I appreciated you all just taking the time to really visit with me and allow me to be part of the evening. The performances were fantastic. Really enjoyed having the opportunity to come out and celebrate with you all. So again, thank you for all the hospitality you showed me on Saturday. Really enjoyed the evening.
And with that, I'd move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopted.
That is all for me, Council President Harden.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Remy.
Thank you, Council President Harden. And as we enter this time of Thanksgiving, I would like to just acknowledge how thankful I am to have the colleagues that I sit with on this dais, and thankful for the work that we're doing to make Columbus a better place. It is truly a pleasure to work with my colleagues that you see up here. But even more important, I'm humbled and honored to serve the residents of the city of Columbus. And so as we enter into this time of Thanksgiving and people are traveling and welcoming people into their homes, I wish everyone a very safe and happy Thanksgiving. As the holidays roll around, it's a time to rejoice and certainly be past COVID. So thank you for all of you that serve with me, and thank you to the residents of the city of Columbus.
Thank you, Councilmember Remy. Thank you for your service. And yes, we are in our Thanksgiving week, but we're also in Beat Michigan week too. So this is not a blue tie, but it's almost too close. Are there any comments by our elected officials, auditor, city attorney's office, treasurer's office? At this time, I request the following ordinance to be removed from the consent action, ordinance 3252-2022 from the Small and Minority Business Committee. Are there any other requests from members for removal of an ordinance or resolution? May we now have a motion to waive reading of titles of third-day legislation by the clerk? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance numbers of third-day legislation on tonight's agenda?
Economic Development Committee Resolutions 226X, 227X-2022, and ordinances 3025 and 3169-2022. Small and Minority Business Committee Ordinance 3002-2022. Technology Committee Ordinance 2857-2022. Neighborhoods and Immigrant, Refugee, and Migrant Affairs Committee Ordinance 3212-2022. Finance Committee Ordinance 3223-2022. Public Utilities Committee Ordinances 2923, 3000, 3001, 3032, 3117, and 3118-2022. Rules and Reference Committee Ordinances 3194, 3253, and 3221-2022.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have one speaker on the first reading. Rima Khoury is on WebEx. Rima speaking on ordinance 3253-2022. Rima, welcome to council. And you have 3 minutes.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Great, awesome. Well, good afternoon. My name is Rima Corey. I'm general counsel for Fumari, which is a premium hookah tobacco manufacturer. I'm also one of the founding members of the National Hookah Community Association, which was established to protect and preserve the rich cultural tradition of hookah. So before you ban the nearly 1,000-year cultural tradition of hookah, which is practiced by Middle Easterners, Armenians, Turks, Indians, North Africans, Persians, I just want to make sure that you understand the facts. Hookah only comes in flavors. So hookah tobacco, also known as masal, which literally means with honey, is made with honey or molasses. And that has been the case for hundreds of years. Therefore, a flavor ban is a hookah ban. And if protecting kids is the purpose of this legislation, then that would not be achieved by banning hookah because kids do not use hookah. According to the CDC teen tobacco use survey, hookah use amongst teenagers is around 1%. That's 10 times less than vape. And that 1% has been going down for the past decade. So according to the FDA, although there is a correlation between flavors and youth initiation, they do not see that same correlation with hookah. Why is that? Well, hookahs are generally 3 feet tall, and so they are cumbersome and very difficult to conceal in your backpack or pocket. It takes about 20 minutes to set up, and hookahs, with all its 10 parts and components, cost over $200. Which is cost prohibitive for most teenagers. I mean, my hookah, I'm Palestinian American, and my hookah is over $700. So they're ornate, they're beautiful, they're decorative, and if you go into any Middle Easterner's home, you will see one. Hookahs are just not being confiscated in schools. If you ask around at different schools, you'll see that there is no teen hookah epidemic. And that is why the state of California exempted hookah from the statewide flavored tobacco ban that was just voted on in the general election on November 8th. At first, the author of that legislation refused to consider any exemptions. But then when Senator Hill learned about the cultural importance of hookah and how it is the centerpiece for social engagement that is often offered as a sign of hospitality and respect, and often seen at celebratory events for Middle Easterners, he realized the disproportionate impact that banning hookah would have on these minority communities, which is why he exempted it from the statewide California flavored tobacco ban. And that is what we were asking for Columbus, Ohio, to mirror SB 793 and exempt hookah and prevent the unintended consequences of eliminating a rich cultural tradition that has nothing to do with vape and is often conflated with vape. Hookah is not vape. Hookah is a part of a very rich cultural tradition, so we please ask for your consideration. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Corey. I'm going to turn it over to the Chair of Health and Human Services, who's leading council through this process, just kind of to go through the additional outreach opportunities or give comment.
Absolutely. Thank you, Council President Harden. Thank you for your testimony this evening. Excuse me. As previously stated, we will be hosting another conversation to dig deeper into different exemptions. We will continue to learn about different policy positions that we have heard from tobacco retailers. We are actively listening to our residents. We're actively listening to our tobacco retailers. Our third conversation will be held on November 30th at 5 p.m. at the Westgate Community Center. And if you're unable to attend in person, please feel free to continue to utilize the email address flavortobacco@columbus.gov to provide any of that feedback. And if I could kindly ask for you to send, if you have not already, the testimony that you just provided to that email address, that'd be greatly appreciated. Thank you, Council President Harden.
Thank you, Council Member. The following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent action. Will the clerk now read those into the record?
Resolutions of expression 235X, 236X-2022, Economic Development Committee, ordinances 2971, 3004, 3008, 3009, 3149, 3153, 3154-2022, Small and Minority Business Committee, ordinance 3196-2022, Technology Committee, ordinances 2657, 3081, 3087-2022. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 2837, 2904, 2948, 2957, 2966, 3047, 3045, 3058, 3091, 3172-2022. Neighborhoods and Immigrant, Refugee, and Migrant Affairs Committee, ordinance 2927-2022. Finance Committee, ordinances 3050, 3051, 3052, 3133-2022. Recreation Parks Committee, ordinance 3142-2022. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 2833, 2909, 2975, 2996, 2997, 3030, 3139-2022. Building and Zoning Policy Committee, ordinance 3070-2022. Housing Committee, ordinances 2877, 2879, 3062, 3063, 3066, 3119, 3164, 2022. Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, ordinances 3076 and 3128-2022. Health and Human Services Committee, ordinances 2447, 2922, 2945, 3031-2022. Environment Committee, ordinance 3108-2022. And Administration Committee, ordinance 3084-2022.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. We have one speaker on the consent agenda. Mr. Joe Motil is here in person to speak on ordinance 2971-2022. Mr. Motil, welcome back to council.
Good evening. Joe Motil, 167 West Cook Road, Columbus, Ohio. President Hardin, members of council, the expansion of this downtown TIF is unwarranted and, if passed, will contribute to the ongoing future defunding of millions of dollars towards public education for the students, facilities, and other needs of our Columbus Public School District. Apparently, the mayor hasn't learned that his tax incentive policies from the use of TIFs and tax abatements contributed greatly towards the recent teacher strike by the CEA. TIFs are typically leveraged to attract new private investment in blighted areas. The extended boundaries of this downtown TIF hardly constitutes as blighted areas. Redevelopment has been occurring at a steady pace for quite some time now in the downtown area, with both residential and commercial development popping up nearly everywhere. I suspect that this downtown TIF parcel expansion and timeframe extension for another 30 years is coming at the request from the corporate and development members of the Columbus Partnership in order to better secure and protect their future investments in the downtown area, along with supporting the proposed 2022 Strategic Downtown Plan. Our elected officials and others have clearly demonstrated for years now that the priorities of those who prosper from economic development in Columbus supersedes the social ills of poverty, crime, unemployment, and housing insecurity that is a direct result from improperly funding and educating our Columbus Public School students. The people of Columbus and our neighborhoods will never prosper equally until this city stops robbing those in need of their rightful public dollars, but instead direct those dollars towards benefiting the rich. I just want to say, on a side note, I want to congratulate Pro Tem Brown on her appointment to the YWCA. I think it is a perfect fit for you, and I also want to say I've enjoyed our working relationship, especially with the Recreation and Parks Department throughout the years. So thank you. Good luck. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Motil. First to the chair, then the director. Any comments?
No comments, but just some clarifying questions. Mr. Motil, you mentioned around the defunding of schools. Director Stevens, could you just clarify, this downtown TIF is a non-school TIF, is that correct?
Yes, thank you, President Hardin, Chair Banks, and members of council. This TIF, like all our TIFs, are non-school TIFs. What that means is all the dollars that the schools will receive from the property taxes will go to the schools, and they will be fully funded.
Thank you. And then if you could just clarify on the geographic expansion, it's my understanding, I think through our briefings, that this is expanding the years in the term, not necessarily the geographic boundaries. Is that correct?
That is correct. This is extending the length of the TIF.
Thank you. And just to clarify, this is a mechanism that was put in by our state, and we have the ability to do this one time because the TIF is generating so much revenue that is going back into our parking garages and other capital improvements that you see downtown.
That is correct. It's based on a recent state law that was passed in 2019 that gives cities the ability to extend non-school TIFs. And what we have used this for in the past is to support some of the investments in parking garages that are needed to attract new jobs and investment in the community. Going forward, we'll be able to utilize this for other infrastructure improvements in the downtown and not have to rely on our capital budget.
Thank you, Director. And I just want to clarify, I think when my office looks at anything that has to do with our taxes, we look at that critically. So I just want to make sure the record is set straight when we have things come up that are misleading in that way. So thank you so much for clarification.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Director. Are there any other comments on the consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to approve of these items designated as consent? Clerk, please call the roll by voice.
Mr. Bankston?
Yes, with the exception of 3164, 2447, and 2945-2022, from which I'm abstaining.
Is there one more?
My apologies, I didn't hear the third. Ms. Barosa de Padilla? Ms. Brown?
Yes, with the exception of 2657, on which I'm abstaining.
Mr. Dorans?
Yes.
Ms. Faber?
Yes, with the exception of 2927 and 2945-2022, from which I'm abstaining.
Mr. Remy?
Yes.
President Harden?
Yes. Ordinances are passed with the noted exceptions. We'll now proceed with the second reading of 30-day tabled and emergency legislation on tonight's agenda. First committee to come before council is the Development Committee chaired by Councilmember Bankston. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Harden. Tonight in the Economic Development Committee for second reading, we first have ordinance 2913-2022 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Cologix US, Inc. and Cologix Services Company, LLC, for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of a total proposed capital investment of approximately $160.5 million, which includes $61 million in real property improvements, the creation of 15 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated new annual payroll of approximately $1.5 million, and the retention of 24 full-time jobs. Council members, and for those viewing, before I dive into the specific piece of this legislation, I wanted to thought it'd be helpful to help provide a few figures that summarize the impact of economic development's legislation on tonight's agenda. Tonight, combined with legislation including the items that were on the consent agenda, will support the creation of 350 new jobs valued at $18.5 million in new payroll, the retention of 105 jobs valued at more than $5.2 million in payroll, and the private investment of $75 million in real property investment. I've said this before, and I say it time and time again, economic development is about people. It is about opportunity for the people of Columbus. So as you reflect on these figures, I would like you also to think and listen about those that are at home in the audience, to also think about the hardworking men and women who will be hired for these new positions, for those who will keep their jobs thanks to these deals. And these jobs will allow them to provide for themselves and their families. And in this economic climate, the importance of that cannot be overstated. So I just wanted to make sure that we level set. But in regards to this particular ordinance, 2913-2022, in 2010 and headquartered in Denver, Colorado, Cologix is a leading network-neutral interconnection and hyperscale edge data center company with existing offices in Columbus. They are proposing to invest a total project cost of approximately $160,500,000, which includes $61 million in real property investments and $99.5 million in machinery and equipment to expand its Columbus offices. With this expansion, the company proposes to construct a new data center consisting of approximately 250,000 square feet on undeveloped land at 7500 and 7474 Alta View Boulevard. The 10-year, 75% enterprise zone agreement requested via this ordinance is estimated to create 15 new jobs and retain 24 jobs. All 15 of the new associated jobs in this expansion are well over $30 an hour. So we're talking about real living wages for folks. Before we move for passage, Council President, we do have two speakers on this ordinance. First is Mr. Joe Motil.
Joe Motil, 167 West Cook Road, Columbus, Ohio. President Hardin, members of the City Council. You can certainly tell election season is over and the holiday season has arrived. The mayor and most likely the City Council are once again in the holiday spirit for handing out tax abatements to the tune of $16.1 million over the next 10 years in exchange for a paltry $37,500 in annual city income tax revenue that will be generated, but not guaranteed by the creation of an aspirational goal of 15 new jobs from this corporate welfare handout. This trade-off is equal to just over $1 million lost to public education in exchange for $37,500 in city income taxes. As noted in the Development Director's fact sheet, Cologix is one of North America's leading hyperscale network data center companies with 40 centers in 11 markets in North America. What is not spelled out is that according to its CEO, the company is owned by the equity investment firm Stonepeak, which has $51.7 billion in assets. Earlier this year, Stonepeak gave $3 billion to Cologix to expand its operations due to the large-scale demand in the type of data center business that this company provides. Cologix data center services are highly regarded as a company that stands apart from the competition. They are expanding not only here in Columbus, but in Toronto, Montreal, Silicon Valley, and Ashburn, Virginia. So let's be perfectly honest and clear. This tax abatement was not handed out because Cologix threatened to leave its location in Columbus and go somewhere else. The company and its equity firm recognize the increasing demand for its products and the safe and profitable return on this investment. Along with it is a known fact that the Columbus region is one of the most sought-after areas in the country for data centers to locate. Bottom line is Cologix wasn't going anywhere. They are fiscally sound, and they and their $51.7 billion equity firm are making piles of money. And to hang your hat on the claim that 24 current full-time jobs will be retained as if it is some kind of bonus is meaningless. Those jobs weren't going anywhere in the first place. Cologix is expanding due to customer demand and to make more money. We're not going to lay off anyone. This tax abatement will result in a loss of roughly $10.7 million that would have gone towards public education, children's services, libraries, Adam H., Metro Parks, Office of Aging, and the City of Columbus's general fund. And the burden of paying higher property taxes for public education and the services I noted being unfairly passed on to those who are losing their homes due to foreclosures, evictions, and higher monthly rents due to gentrification in poor urban neighborhoods. But for some reason, the mayor and y'all feel like this tax abatement and others like it are justified. In just over the last 7 years, the mayor and city council has handed out no less than $612.8 million in tax abatements. I would urge you to vote no on yet another example of corporate welfare in the Columbus way. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Motil. Director, any things that you wanted to comment on before our next speaker?
Thank you, President Hardin, Chair Bankston, members of council. We're continue to work in a very competitive economic development environment. A company like Cologix has operations all across the country and has to make decisions every day where they want to continue to make investments. By using this incentive tool to encourage that investment here in the city of Columbus, we are making sure our neighbors stay employed with new opportunities for additional employment. As well, over the term of this abatement, the Worthington City Schools will realize an additional $4 million in property tax without this investment.
Thank you, Director. And I'd also like to point out that it's on undeveloped land currently. That's only generating $27,000 a year for the Worthington School District. Our next speaker on this ordinance is Mr. Nate Wilkins. Mr. Nate. Welcome back to council, Mr. Wilkins. You know the drill. You have 3 minutes. And
1612 Arlington Avenue, Mr. Lieutenant George Wilkins. I will probably be all in for this, but I usually don't speak on something like this, but I'm speaking in favor of SR 1 2913 2022 and economic development. There's some ideas I want to give. We talk about jobs, but we want to make sure those jobs will be given to the full-time people and also the part-time people. I wrote on some of my notes here of 75 years for 10 years, 85 years for 17 and a half years, and 95% of 25 years. I know you talked about $160,000 in millions, okay? I came up with another one for 85% of $189 million and 9 million. If we are going to talk about bringing jobs to this community, jobs to the Central Ohio area, we want to look at opportunity for not just full-time people, but also part-time people, and also for the multi-disability people, you know, for cleaning their offices and things and stuff like that. So, you know, I just want this money to be utilized in a good way, in a perfect way. I don't know where this job is coming from, but like I said, we want to utilize this company for all type of people, for young women, for students that are walking across the stage, giving them careers of $30 an hour. Also, if we're talking about part-time people, we want them to get $28 an hour, you know, after they be with the company for a long time, and bring us some type of training facility at this company, you know what I'm saying? So, again, I'm all for this, but I want something that's 95% for 25 years or either 85% for 17 and a half years. So if we are going to look at this state of Ohio that's coming and growing like this for a major company like this, I don't know too much about this company, but like I say, I'm in favor for all this, for what y'all do. I'm kind of glad to see the city is moving forward in economic development like this. But yes, we do need more jobs and more part-time jobs for these type of people out here. Not to seclude, not to being homeless or being out of their homes. It's giving some type of opportunity. Yes, I am all for this, but I want to see an 85% reduction of this for people to come in and get these jobs quickly and make sure they have training, some type of training facilities on these jobs. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Wilkins, and for your continued advocacy. It's truly appreciated. And as you say in the legislation here, for tax deal purposes, we only look at full-time jobs. I'm sure there's probably part-time jobs to go with it, but those new jobs are over $30 an hour. But thank you for your continued advocacy. Seeing no other speakers, are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? And seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, in the Economic Development Committee, we have ordinance 2943-2022 to amend the 2022 capital improvements budget to authorize the city auditor to transfer funds within the Development Taxable Bond Fund, to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a grant agreement with Columbus Next Generation Corporation to purchase, renovate, or construct real property assets in targeted central city areas to advance economic and community development initiatives, to authorize the expenditure of $1,200,000 from the Development Taxable Bond Fund, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance simply provides funding to Next Gen for continued property acquisitions that aligns with the city's strategy to conduct transformational development in key parts of the city, including Linden and the Hilltop. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Councilmember Bangston,
Yes.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Dorans, Ms. Favor, Mr. Remy, President Harden.
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Thank you. Next in economic development this evening is ordinance 3019-2022 to authorize the Director of the Department of Development to enter into an enterprise zone agreement with Broughton Investment LLC and Extreme Express LLC, collectively known as the Enterprise, for a tax abatement of 75% for a period of 10 consecutive years in consideration of the enterprise investing approximately $11 million in real property improvements, the retention of 81 full-time jobs with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $3.83 million, and the creation of 50 net new full-time permanent positions with an estimated annual payroll of approximately $2,649,700 at the project site. Broughton Investment LLC is a real estate holding company and the commercial real estate broker, while Extreme Express LLC is a premier logistics firm based in Columbus, Ohio. Both these entities are jointly proposing to invest a total project cost of approximately $14 million, which includes $11 million in real property improvements, $400,000 in existing building improvements, $2.1 million in machinery and equipment, and $500,000 in furniture and fixtures to expand its distribution and warehouse facility, an additional 120,000 square feet at 6611 Broughton Avenue. The 10-year, 75% enterprise zone agreement requested via this ordinance is estimated to create 50 net new full-time jobs and retain 81 full-time jobs. The Columbus City School District is estimated to receive an additional $504,600 over the term of the abatement and approximately $2,523,011 over a 20-year period as a result of this expansion and project. If there are no questions or comments from my colleagues, I move for passage at this time.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President
Council President, may I circle back to the consent agenda on page 7 for Small Minority Business Committee?
Sure.
Thank you. Tonight in the Small Minority Business Committee, we have ordinance 3252-2022 to authorize an appropriation and expenditure of up to $1,000 from the Job Growth Subfund for the purchase of food and or beverage items for the Small Business Roundup reception on December 1st, 2022, and to declare an emergency. I move to postpone this ordinance to December 5th, 2022 council meeting.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Postpone.
Thank you, and now may I move on to the Technology Committee.
Please.
Tonight in Technology, we have for second reading, ordinance 3049-2022 to amend the 2022 capital improvements budget to authorize the transfer of appropriation and cash in the Department of Technology Information Services Capital Improvements Bond Fund, to authorize the Director of Finance and Management on behalf of the Department of Technology to establish a purchase order with Granicus, Inc. to migrate the city's webpage content to a new enterprise content management system, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of city code, to authorize the expenditure of up to $1,566,608 for the above described purpose, and to declare an emergency. So I'm really excited about this piece of legislation. I know it's just a contract, but this contract will begin the process of us overhauling and updating the city's website. Finally, I've heard from many constituents, I've heard from many department leaders. Our current system is outdated and archaic. Now, believe it or not, I was around when we had the website before this one, so this one is actually pretty nice compared to that. But we are excited to be able to move forward with updating our city's website. It is so critical to make sure that the public is able to access the website and for us to get information out to our residents. So we're really excited about this contract. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I'll move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
And the last ordinance for this evening in my committees is in technology is 3151-2022 to authorize the Director of the Department of Technology to enter into a contract with 3SG Plus LLC, a dealer of Highland on-base software, on behalf of various city departments for maintenance and support of the on-base software, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Codes, to authorize the expenditure of $87,056.70 from the Department of Technology Information Services Division Information Service Operating Fund, and to declare an emergency. This legislation allows us to continue to do business with 3SG Plus LLC for the maintenance of software that many departments use. Prior to this ordinance for the services authorized entering into contract under the sole source provisions as 3SGB Plus LLC was the sole authorized provider. Recently, however, multiple resellers of the service have been authorized, requiring that it be competitively bid out. The 6-month contract that we're authorizing by this ordinance will ensure continuation of services while the Department of Technology bids out that new contract. Emergency action is required to expedite authorization of this contract to ensure uninterrupted service from the supplier and to allow time for the establishment of a purchase order before the City Auditor's Office 2022 year-end closure. Any questions or comments from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
And that is all I have in my committees this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Veterans and Seniors Affairs Committee, chaired by Councilmember Barosa de Padilla. Councilman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. I have one ordinance today in Veterans and Senior Affairs, 2884-2022, to authorizing the Director of Recreation and Parks to enter into contracts with 26 community agencies to provide social and nutrition services to older adults in Central Ohio during 2023, to authorize the expenditure of $6,635,000 from the Recreation and Parks Grant Fund, and to declare an emergency. The Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging, COAAA, plans, funds, and delivers services that help older adults and individuals with disabilities remain safe and independent in their homes. COAAA is operated under the City of Columbus Recreation and Parks Department. This legislation authorizes 26 community service contracts for the provision of meals, adult daycare, home care, personal care, transportation, home repair, and legal services for the period of January 1, 2023 through December 31st, 2023, of which COAAA selected these service providers. Approximately 20,000 individuals are expected to be served. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bangston,
Abstain.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla,
Yes.
Ms. Brown, Mr. Dorans, Ms. Favor, Mr. Remy, President Harden.
Yes, ordinance is passed.
Thank you. That's all for me this evening.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Finance Committee, chaired by President Pro Tem. President Pro Tem, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. The three ordinances in finance tonight that I will be introducing make up the 2023 operating budget that was proposed by Mayor Ginther on November 10th. We will be referring these ordinances to committee tonight as council hosts hearings in the coming weeks to review the budget and receive public feedback before final consideration early next year. That schedule has been published in the City Journal, and it includes the following hearings, which will be in council chambers unless otherwise noted. Monday, November 28th at 5 p.m., Councilmember Bangston kicks us off with the hearing of the Economic Development, Small and Minority Business, and Technology Committees. Tuesday, November 29th, I host a hearing at noon on the overall Finance Committee, Education, and Recreation and Parks Committees. Wednesday, December 7th at 3 p.m., Councilmember Remy hosts a hearing of the Public Safety, Environment, and Administration Committees. Wednesday, December 7th at 5 p.m., Councilmember Dorans hosts a hearing of the Public Utilities, Workforce Development, and Building and Zoning Committees. Building and Zoning Policy Committees, excuse me. Thursday, December 8th at 5 p.m., Councilmember Favor hosts a hearing of the Housing, Health, and Human Services and Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committees. Tuesday, December 13th at 5 p.m., Councilmember Barosa de Padilla hosts a hearing of the Neighborhoods and Immigrant, Refugee, and Migrant Affairs, Public Service and Transportation, and Veterans and Senior Affairs Committees. So if there are no questions before I dig into it here, I will read the titles and move to refer to committee. Any questions before we go? All right. Ordinance 2936-2022 to make appropriations for the 12 months ending December 31st, 2023 for each of the several object classes for which the City of Columbus has to provide from the monies known to be in the treasury of said City of Columbus in the fund known as the General Fund during the said 12 months from the collection of all taxes and from other sources of revenue, the amount of $1,144 million, and to declare an emergency. I move to refer to committee pending public hearings.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Referred.
Next is ordinance 2937-2022 to make appropriations and transfers for the 12 months ending December 31st, 2023 for all other funds for various divisions, to authorize the city auditor to make transfers as may be necessary and to declare an emergency. I move to refer to committee pending public hearings.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Referred to committee.
And finally, ordinance 2938-2022 to make appropriations for the 12 months ending December 31st, 2023 for selected other funds for various divisions, to authorize the city auditor to make transfers as may be necessary and to declare an emergency. I move to refer to committee pending public hearings.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Referred to committee.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities Committee, chaired by Councilmember Dorans. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. First, in the Public Utilities Committee, we have Ordinance 2784-2022 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to modify and increase a contract with Census USA, Inc. for the ongoing software, hardware, and maintenance of the systems that required as part of the Enhanced Meter Project for the Division of Water, and authorize expenditure of $1,100,000. This is the operating contract for the ongoing operation and maintenance of the system and software implemented as part of the Enhanced Meter Project. The Enhanced Meter Project will replace outdated and underperforming meters, installing radio transmitting infrastructure to allow for wireless readings relayed to building software at a central location, which provides an environmentally efficient way to read the meters, since we're not sending people out in vehicles to read them individually. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 3034-2022 to authorize the Director of Department of Public Utilities to enter a contract with JTRAC, Inc. to provide an access and support for GREENSPOT metric software platform to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, and to authorize the expenditure of $19,500 from the Electricity Operating Fund, the Water Operating Fund, the Sewer System Operating Fund, and the Stormwater Operating Fund, and to declare an emergency. The City of Columbus Department of Public Utilities, in its ongoing efforts to be environmentally friendly, has determined to continue the GreenSpot program, which has over 23,000 members to date. Through GreenSpot metric software platform, each member has an individualized dashboard to track their sustainability progress. This ordinance also requests the waiver of competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, as JTRAC Inc. is the city's provider for GreenSpot metric software. This ordinance is being submitted as an emergency because without emergency action, no less than 37 days will be added to the procurement cycle and will cause a disruption of the GreenSpot metric software platform throughout the city. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 3041-2022 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to modify professional engineering service agreement with Arcadis US, Inc. for Division of Sewerage and Drainage for the Sewer System Capacity Model Update 2020, to authorize the transfer and expenditure of up to $2,163.59 from the Sanitary Sewer General Obligation Bond Fund, and to amend the 2022 capital improvement budget. The collection system model, enhanced by the Model Update 2020 project, is the principal tool used to manage the planning and operations of the city's sewer collection system. Enhancement of this tool is vital to maintaining sewer overflows and backups, and thereby minimizing negative impacts on the environment caused by the city's sewer system. This contract is also a major component of the city's Blueprint Columbus Integrated Plan Program. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And Council President, with your permission, I'd like to move on to rules and reference.
Please.
Thank you. Tonight in rules and reference, there are three ordinances that are the proposed utility adjustments for 2023. All three were on first read at our last council meeting on November 14th, and the Public Utilities Committee held a hearing last Thursday, November 17th, here in council chambers to present the proposed rates. Members of the Sewer and Water Advisory Board, with representatives from the Department of Public Utilities, met 4 times in 2022 to review and discuss the operations and planning activities of the water, sewer, and stormwater enterprises. At their October 19th meeting, they reviewed proposed water, sanitary sewer, and stormwater rates. The board approved the following rate recommendation effective January 1st of 2023. For the fiscal year 2023, the board recommends an increase in sanitary sewer rates of 5%, water of 4%, and stormwater rates of 2%. When considered together, the bill on an average residential customer within the city of Columbus is 4.45%. Overall, this adds approximately $14.07 to a residential customer bill each quarter, or $56.29 per year. I'd like to point out that the adjustments are less than last year, which the current rates of inflation is something the department and the board should be commended for. The rate of adjustments are in line with past increases and allows the department to continue to provide excellent customer service in an environmentally friendly manner to more than 1.2 million people in Central Ohio. We also recognize that water and sewer charges disproportionately affect lower income groups. The Department of Public Utilities will continue its low-income discount program that discounts participants' sewer commodity portion of their bill by 20%. Assistance to residents of Columbus who are facing utility shutoff for an overdue bill is also available with a one-time payment of $750 towards an eligible water, sewer, and stormwater bill that is 90 days delinquent. Assistance is also available to small businesses of Columbus facing utility shutoffs or have overdue utility bills through a one-time matching grant at 50% of the past due amount of an eligible City of Columbus water, sewer, stormwater, or power bill up to $5,000 maximum. Assistance for low-income residential customers who are financially impacted by the rate increases for 2023 could be eligible for a one-time credit of $50 to $60 for current and new customers in low-income discount program. That means that those folks who are currently enrolled in those discount programs will not be affected by these rate increases because of that credit that the department will be applying. Customers who participate in assistance programs like HEAP, Medicaid, food stamps, or live in public housing may be eligible for a discount on their water and sewer bills. Seniors age 60 with limited income may also qualify for discount on their bill. You can learn more by visiting the Department of Public Utilities website at columbus.gov/utilities. As always, the Sewer and Water Advisory Board will work with the public utility staff to ensure that future rate increases are minimized to the extent possible. I want to pause, and Deputy Director John Lee is with us here tonight, and allow him to make any additional comments if I've not covered anything from our hearing this past Thursday. Deputy Director Lee.
Thank you, Council President Harden, Chair Dorans, and members of Council. I'd like to echo the comments from Chair Dorans. We believe at the Department of Public Utilities that our rates are responsible and reasonable for 2023. These increases allow us to cover our operating expenses and debt service costs related to our $4 billion capital improvement program. We understand that rate increases are not popular, especially in this time of rising prices and inflation, and affordability is a paramount concern for us. Our operations are not immune to these increases, and we have experienced significant increases in materials, supplies, chemicals, and construction costs in 2022. These rate increases will help temper those rate increases and allow us to maintain our quality service levels and continue our infrastructure investments throughout our service area. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Director. And one thing we did talk quite a bit about at our hearing was really thinking through, I think holistically, the discount programs that the city offers to low-income folks, seniors, and also thinking about how that applies to low-income folks that are in multi-housing that maybe don't receive an individual bill. That is something that Director Atha and the senior leadership of the department are really focused on making sure that those discounts are getting to folks that need them to help make sure that that's being absorbed whenever we need to raise these rates. So with that, I want to pause and see if my council colleagues have any questions for the department before I move on to legislation. Great. Seeing none, I will move to the first piece of legislation, Ordinance 3036-2022, to amend various sections of Chapter 1105 of the Columbus City Codes to enact new water rates for the year beginning January 1st, 2023, and repeal the existing sections being amended. Do my colleagues at this point have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have Ordinance 3037-2022 to amend Sections 1137.0 1147.01, and 1147.11. Columbus City Codes revives sewer charge definitions, revive the discretion to reduce sewer frontage fees, and enact new sanitary sewer service rates for the years beginning January 1st, 2023, and to repeal the existing sections being amended. First, I move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Amended.
And next, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And finally, I have ordinance 3038-2022 to amend section 1149.08 of the Columbus City Codes to enact a new stormwater fees for the years beginning January 1st, 2023, and to repeal the existing sections being amended. I now move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Staying in the Rules and Reference Committee, I'll turn the floor over to Councilmember Remy.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. Tonight I have Ordinance 3181-2022 to amend Ordinance 1652-2022, passed October 17, 2022, by editing Chapter 2550 to reinstate the ability of the Division of Police to issue hazardous material citations, to correct a typographical error in order to mirror the Code of Federal Regulations, and to make changes to reflect the correct section number of the Fire Code, and to declare an emergency. Ordinance 1652-2022 passed October 17, 2022, enacted and amended various chapters of Title 25 Fire Prevention Code of the City of Columbus to ensure alignment with the Ohio Fire Code, establish an appeals process for review of violations, and establish a new fee structure for certain permits, inspections, modifications, and rates. However, this ordinance 1652-2022, Section 2550.02, needs amended to first reinstate the ability of Division of Police to issue hazardous material citations for all violations of this chapter. This change simply restores the prior status quo enforcement ability of Columbus Police, which was inadvertently left out of the ordinance 1652-2022. Second, the underlined proposed language of section 2550.04 adds language to correct a typographical error in order to mirror the Code of Federal Regulations. Again, this restores this prior status quo. The underlined proposed language of section 2550.0.13.1 simply corrects an error by referencing the correct section number. This amendment does not alter any other requirements established by the ordinances 1652-2022. So, Deputy Director Dan G., are there any other additional details you'd like to share on this ordinance?
President Harden, Chair Remy, members of council, I think you've summarized the changes correctly. There was just an oversight when we approved the fire code changes that omitted police's ability to continue to issue citations. If council would wish to understand a little more about that in terms of how many vehicles traverse our city and carrying tons of hazardous material, we did have Officer Barrett here to discuss that if you would so like.
Sure, if you'd like to just enlighten us for a moment.
Thank you very much, Council. Just for informational purposes, the current year statistics shows that officers with the Columbus Division of Police, just in my unit on second shift freeway patrol, have stopped and cited approximately 289 drivers for illegally traversing the city with hazardous material, with a total weight of almost 6 million pounds of illegal hazmat coming through town. Our unit averages almost 500,000 pounds of illegal hazmat coming through the city where there is no point of origin or no destination. The changes that, the emergency changes we're asking basically restores our ability to do the enforcement throughout the entire city in this particular section code so we can maintain the safety of the citizens. Thank you.
And to remind folks, I believe we don't allow people to traverse through basically inside of 270 with hazardous materials when they're not being taken to some place in Columbus. Is that correct?
That is correct. The hazardous material route is Interstate 270. So vehicles transporting hazardous material that does not have a point of origin or a point of destination inside the city of Columbus have to use the Beltway to avoid coming through the densest populated areas of Columbus. We have been doing this enforcement for right now, in reference, probably 8 years and have stopped over 60 million pounds of illegal hazmat coming through the city. Our enforcement rate is about a 95% conviction rate for violations. Vehicles that actually have or are making deliveries in town are not in violation and are given an education and then sent on their way without violations.
Thank you very much for your service. We appreciate it. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, President Harden. That is all I have this evening. I just want to point out, I also want to be thankful for our staff because we would not be able to succeed if it wasn't for them. So we thank them as well. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Seeing no further business become for council, is there a motion to adjourn? As Councilmember Remy said, we are thankful. We enter this Thanksgiving holiday week thankful for many things, family, friends, and fellowship, and also that there's no meeting next Monday. We will reconvene December 5th, but in the meantime, there will be almost like 6 public hearings in that in-between time. So we will see you back here. Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adjourned.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Dorance chairs the committee. All members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Before we begin tonight's zoning agenda, allow me to briefly explain our current rules pertaining to speaking for council on rezoning and variances. We will only hear a staff presentation for ordinances that have a disapproval from a recommending body, or if you have a public speaker signed up to speak against an ordinance. This evening, we have received 0 public speaker slips. All speakers on a council variance, including city staff, area commissioners, applicants, and members of the public, will be sworn in before they give testimony. Representatives of the area commission and applicants are always able to speak on an ordinance and do not need to fill out a speaker slip. On the advice of the city attorney's office, I will now swear in city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand and be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer to the pains or penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that Tim Dietrich from the Department of Building and Zoning Services has been sworn in. First, we have ordinance 3039-2022 to rezone 6455 Presidential Gateway, being 6.11 plus acres located in the southwest corner of Corporate Exchange Drive and Presidential Gateway, from LC2 Limited Commercial District to LAR1 Limited Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Robinwood Corporate Center LLC, care of Michael Shannon, attorney. Proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. City's Department recommendation is approval. Development Commission's recommendation is approval. Northland Community Council's recommendation is approval. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance 2693-2022 to rezone 5600 North Hamilton Road, being 1.00 plus acres located on the east side of North Hamilton Road, 160 plus feet south of Brazier Boulevard, and from LC4 Limited Commercial District to LC4L Limited Commercial District. The applicant is Brady Signs, care of Jim McFarland. Proposed use is a commercial development. City's Department recommendation is approval. The Development Commission's recommendation is approval, and the Northland Community Council's recommendation is disapproval. Do my colleagues have any questions? There was as I noted, a disapproval on this piece of legislation with the Northland Community Council. However, my staff and I have been in contact with both the president and zoning chair of the Northland Community Council, and the issues that I think were identified I have been ironed out, so therefore I was comfortable bringing forward the legislation here this evening. As noted, we also do not have anyone signed but to speak against this ordinance tonight either. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we're moving to council variances. So we have ordinance 3040-2022 to grant a variance provisions of section 3312.272 parking setback line of the Columbus City Code for the property located at 6455 Presidential Gateway to permit a reduced parking setback for an apartment building in the LAR1 Limited Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Robinwood Corporate Center LLC, care of Michael Shannon, attorney. Proposed use a multi-unit residential development. City's Department recommendation is approval. Northland Community Council's recommendation is approval. First, I move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance 3046-2022 to grant a variance provisions of section 3356 C4 permitted uses 3370.05 permitted use of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 3700 Lifestyle Boulevard to permit a ground floor accessory residential uses and a self-storage facility in LC4 Limited Commercial District, and repeal ordinance number 261400 and ordinance 06542005. The applicant is Daniel Mayer. Proposed use in mixed-use development. City's Department recommendation is approval. The Northeast Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. First, I move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance 3132-2022 to grant variance provisions of section 3332.039 R4 Residential District, 3332.05 A4 Area District Lot Width Requirements, 3332.15 R4 Area District Requirements, 3332.18D Base of Computing Area, 3332.19 Fronting, 3332.25 Maximum Side Yard Required, 3332.26 Minimum Side Yard Permitted, and 3332.27 Rear Yard of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 870-874 Dennison Avenue to permit a 4-unit dwelling with 3-unit dwelling on one lot with reduced development standards in the R4 Residential District. And the applicant is Crystal Fleming, care of Gary Alexander, architect. Proposed use of a residential development. City Department recommendation is approval. Victorian Village Commission recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report and do evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 3134-2022 to grant variance provisions of section 3332.033 R2 Residential District, 3332.12 R2 Area District Requirements, 3332.19 Fronting, 3332.21B Building Lines, 3332.27 Rear Yard of Columbus City Codes to the property located at 2084 Parkwood Avenue to permit a six single-unit dwellings on the same lot with reduced development standards in the R2 Residential District. The applicant is Julie Bullock Architects, care of Julie Bullock, architect. Proposed use of a residential development. City Department recommendation is approval. The North Central Area Commission recommendation is also approval. First, I move to accept the entire staff report and do evidence as an exhibit.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance 3136-2022 to grant variance provisions of section 333.02 AR12, ARLD, AR1 Apartment Residential District Use, 3333.09 Area Requirements, section 3333.11 ARLD Area District Requirements, 3333.23D Minimum Side Yards Permitted, and 3333.24 Rear Yard of the Columbus City Code. So the property located at 940 McAllister Avenue permit a 3 single-unit dwelling with reduced development standards in the ARLD Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Joss Construction LLC, care of Rebecca Mott, attorney. Proposed use is a single-unit residential development. City Department recommendation is disapproval. The area's Area Commission recommendation is approval. Due to the disapproval from the Planning Department, we will now have staff reports. Mr. Dietrich, the floor is yours.
Okay. Chair Dorans, President Harden, members of council, the site is comprised of 4 undeveloped parcels in the ARLD Apartment Residential District. The applicant is requesting a council variance to construct 3 single-unit dwellings on 3 reconfigured lots. A variance is necessary because single-unit dwellings are not a permitted use in the ARLD district. The request includes variances to lot width, area district requirements, and side and rear yards. The site is located within the boundaries of the Near East Area Plan, which recommends high-density residential / mixed-use development. Staff does not support the request because the overall site design is not consistent with the Near East Area Plan's design guidelines, which discourages attached garages in front of dwelling units and states that building setbacks should be similar to those of adjacent buildings. While staff supports the proposed use and the submitted building elevations, the site plan is considered incompatible with the established development pattern of the area and therefore not supported. Staff will consider support for a site design that places buildings closer to McAllister Avenue frontage or driveways that provide rear access for vehicles, and therefore City Department's recommendation is disapproval.
Thank you, Mr. Dietrich. I want to give an opportunity to Rebecca Mott, the attorney for the applicant, to present to council. Ms. Mott? Ms. Mott, as this is a council variance, I need to swear you in real quick.
Yes.
You already got your right hand. Let me get back to my magic words. Do you swear or affirm that testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer the pains or penalty of perjury? If so, please say I do.
I do.
Thank you, Ms. Mott. The floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Mott, an attorney with Plank Law Firm with an office address of 411 East Town Street, Columbus, Ohio 43215. The property at 940 McAllister Avenue is zoned in the ARLD district. The property is surrounded on all sides by residential zoned properties, also in the ARLD district. The proposal is consistent and harmonious with zoning and residential uses in the neighborhood. Applicant is requesting a use variance and 4 area variances in order to construct detached single-family dwellings on 3 newly proposed lots, as shown on the site plan and the elevations. In working diligently with both the neighborhood group, the Near East Area Commission, and the City of Columbus staff, we were able to resolve all comments except one of the comments, and that was one from the Planning Department. We were able to satisfy 11 other comments of city staff, including 5 of the 6 comments from Planning Department. The reason we could not satisfy the one remaining comment from the Planning Department is that in order to obtain support from the Near East Area Commission, we were asked to create longer driveways, to create a parking space for each of these single-family dwelling units in the driveway, which would be 2 parking spaces per dwelling unit with the garage spaces. And the Planning Department desired the building setback to be closer to McAllister Avenue, which would have had a shorter driveway length and would have necessitated a need for a parking variance. So because we were unable to satisfy both conflicting comments of the Near East Area Commission and the Planning Department, we did opt to modify our plan to obtain the support of the Near East Area Commission, since they are the neighbors most affected and the party most affected by this proposed development. It is also important to note that the Planning Division did ask for other things that we were able to provide. So we were able to provide building elevations, add windows on the fronts of garages, use pervious pavers as driveway instead of concrete or asphalt, and we agreed that our windows and doors and all of the insets in the building would be compatible with the neighborhood buildings. With that said, we do believe we have a beautiful 3-unit, 3-story detached residential dwelling product and housing stock to offer to the Near East neighborhood and City of Columbus, and we do respectfully request your approval. And I'm also happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ms. Mott. Do any of my colleagues have any questions at this time? Seeing none, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
So my team's been working with city staff regarding their disapproval on this, and I appreciate Ms. Mott being here tonight, sort of talk through from an applicant's perspective. This is one of the properties in which the parcel itself is a bit unique, with trying to fit both the desire of the neighborhood's concerns with also what the planning department's concerns were. I appreciate everyone's working together on this. I do want to point out that because this is sort of a unique parcel that does not have an alley behind it, which would make the placement of the garages more difficult with how the planning department would prefer them to be. That's why we have the disapproval that's here tonight. It is rare for me to bring something forward that has a disapproval from the planning department. However, again, given the special circumstances associated with this parcel, I felt it was appropriate. I want to make very clear that we're not setting a precedent here tonight in which we're just overruling planning with regard to their recommendations, but they wanted to stick to their area plan, what has been prescribed there. But again, because of the unique nature of this parcel, and their relation to the streets, and again, the need for housing in general in the city, I was comfortable bringing this ordinance forward tonight. So at this point, I just want to pause, since we do have a disapproval here, and see if any of my colleagues have any questions or comments. Therefore, at this time, I move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff, the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2998-2022 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035, R3 Residential District 3332.27, rear yard of the Columbus City Codes, the property located at 1223 East Ridge Street to permit a 2-unit dwelling and 5-unit apartment building in the same lot with a shared yard in the R3 Residential District. The applicant is Jeffrey Steele, care of Daniel Mayer. Proposed use of a 2-unit dwelling with a 5-unit apartment building. City's Department recommendation is approval. Near East Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. First, I move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Next, I move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
I next move to amend to emergency.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
And finally, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Thank you. And finally, we have ordinance 2999-2022 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 residential districts, 3332.21 of the building lines of the Columbus City Codes for property located at 1129 East Ridge Street to permit a 4-unit dwelling with a reduced building line in the R3 residential district. The applicant is Jeffrey Steele, care of Daniel Meyer. Proposed use is a 4-unit dwelling. City's Department recommendation is approval. Near East Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. First, I move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
Next, move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Amend it.
I next move to amend as amend to emergency.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Amend it.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all we have on our zoning agenda, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone.
Thank you so much. No further business coming for council. Is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, favor, Remy, President Harden.
Have a good evening, everyone.